there, and welcome back to Don't Open That Door. Come along with our triumvirate of terror as we descend into darkness, hurtle into horror, and plunge into peril. If you've ever slept for 900 years, like Nico, you're in the right place. I'm Justin, and I'm the ship security officer, but I was on break.
I'm Nico, and I'm one of the folks in hypersleep.
I'm Dan, the resident survival expert, because according to our middle school tests, I can definitely survive better than Justin can.
And we're here today to review Pandorum. So this was directed by Christian Alvert, starring Dennis Quaid as Peyton, Ben Foster as Bauer, I apologize, Anjay Trio as Nadia, Cam Gagandit as Gallo, and Kung Lee as Man. We open with a bit of exposition about how in the future, Earth has become overpopulated and resources have become scarce. To combat this, Earth designs the Elysium, a ship that is going to take 60,000 people to Tanis, an Earth-like planet, for colonization. We see a brief glimpse of the crew of the Elysium receiving a message from Earth saying that the Elysium is all that's left. And then we cut to Corporal Bauer. And for more on that, we turn to our very own Corporal Bauer, Nico. Emerge from your sleep and tell us what happens.
Corporal Bauer emerges from a hypersleep pod. I'm still stuck in mine. Very disoriented and with memory loss, which are common side effects of hypersleep. He manages to gather his bearings, though, and he awakens Lieutenant Peyton. The pair wonder why there's nobody else around, including the team that was supposed to wake them up, and why the ship has no power. Peyton activates a local terminal and tries to access the ship's bridge, but they can't get in, and the pair realize that they need to fix the ship's reactor to fix this situation that they're in. Surprisingly, Bauer remembers exactly how to fix it, and they realize that he must be a mechanical engineer. Peyton stays with the terminal, and Bauer heads deeper into the ship to find the reactor.
So it looks like we're going deeper and deeper. Dan knows what's up about that. Dan, what happens next?
Well, while exploring, Bauer is overcome with fear, and he tells Peyton that he feels like he may be suffering from Pandorum, which is a condition that is a result of deep space travel and is exacerbated by stress and can lead to insanity. Peyton calms him down, and Bauer continues. Bauer is then ambushed by a mysterious woman and also runs into some unknown humanoid creatures. Bauer escapes the creatures and meets Man, a member of the agriculture team. The two are unable to communicate due to speaking different languages, but Man and Bauer team up to try and find the reactor. The pair are ambushed by the woman, but manage to calm her down, and the trio agree to work together. Her name is Nadia, and she is an environmental scientist/biologist. Nadia theorizes that the creatures are actually humans who have undergone quickened evolution and have adapted to the ship.
Well, speaking of quickened evolution, Nico, I know you studied that in school very deeply, so why don't you take the next section?
Yeah, I remember my very deep esoteric lectures on quickened evolution when I was getting my degree in literature. Totally. The trio continue towards the reactor, fighting off the humanoid creatures who appear to feast on flesh. Oh my god, they're space chuds.
Are they space chuds or are they sea chuds?
Okay, I don't know if you could say they're underground because they're in space.
Are they?
They're underneath pipes and shit. I don't know. They're hidden in nooks and crannies. Go see Chud. It's fun. Anyway.
You said go see Chud like it was in the movie theaters or something like that. I just want to point that one out.
Yeah, let me buy a ticket.
I mean, fuck. We all make mistakes. I just make more of them than most. So anyway, the trio run into Leland, a cook. And at first, Leland tries to eat them, but Bauer lets them know that the ship will be destroyed if they don't fix the reactor, so Leland joins them instead. He also tells them that Earth is, well, it's gone. It's been destroyed. And when the active crew heard the news, one of them went insane just on the spot and killed the rest of the crew that was awake. He then released people from hypersleep, which created an insanely violent society, which then turned into those creatures. More on that later. And then he put himself back into hypersleep.
And so I emerge. Our foursome makes their way to the reactor room, and they learn that this is where the creatures make their home. Mon distracts the creatures so the Bauer and Nadia can reset the reactor, which in turn kills a bunch of the creatures, but like some of them still go after Mon. Mon fights them off, but is eventually killed. Then Bauer, Nadia, and Leland escape, but Leland closes the door behind himself, locking Bauer and Nadia in a room with the creatures in hot pursuit. That doesn't work out too well for him, though, does it, Nico?
Nope. So, you see, while all this was going on, Peyton finds a young man named Corporal Gallo. Gallo claims that his crew was suffering from Pandorum, so he had to kill them all. He also breaks the news to Peyton that the Earth has been destroyed, which causes Peyton to himself start suffering from Pandorum. He and Gallo eventually get into a fight, which leads Peyton to realize that Gallo he's been talking to doesn't actually exist. And he is, in actuality, the Last of Us. By that, I mean Gallo. And the one who started the violent society before putting himself into hypersleep in Peyton's chamber. You just hate to see it, folks. This is what led Bauer to think that he was Peyton. So Leland makes his way to Gallo, but is just instantly killed. Also hate to see it. Gallo then heads to the bridge, and Bauer and Nadia eventually follow suit.
Well, a lot of stuff is going down, but as always, we can count on Dan to wrap it up. So, Dan, what happens next?
Sure can't count on you for that.
Bauer's memory is starting to return now, and he asks Gallo who the hell he is, because now he remembers that he is not actually Peyton. Gallo admits to what he's done, and then he activates the bridge's window to show that the ship is in total darkness. Bauer starts to lose it, but Nadia then sees a jellyfish, and they realize that the ship is actually underwater on the planet of Tanis, and they've been there for hundreds of years. Bauer cracks the window, which causes water to flood into the ship. He then seals himself and Nadia in a hyperspace pod and launches it. The pair emerge from the ocean right next to fertile land. Furthermore, the flood causes all of the remaining pods on the ship to launch, giving humanity a chance of survival. The movie ends with the words, Tanis, Year 1. The end.
Well, it's the end for the movie, but it's the beginning for us because we've got a lot to talk about. So let's get down to it. First off, how's this movie look, Dan? What'd you think about it?
This movie looked very saturated and looked very 2000s.
Yes.
And I'm going to say what I think we're all thinking, that this is basically Resident Evil in a spaceship.
Yeah, it is.
Kind of.
Just the whole look, the feel, the grit, the saturation, the mood. It's kind of like Resident Evil in a different setting.
Should we include the fact that Paul W.S. Anderson of Event Horizon and Resident Evil fame, also Mortal Kombat, I guess, he was a producer in this one. He didn't direct it, but he was a producer, I believe, in this one.
And you can totally fucking tell.
Yeah.
Just by watching it.
Well,
Like, it's almost as if they were, I don't know, man. It feels like Event Horizon Great Value sometimes.
yeah, I can kind of see that. I think overall they did a good job with like the ship design and making different areas look kind of different. I felt like that was an accurate representation of a ship. It was claustrophobic at points.
Totally.
But one thing I didn't necessarily like were sometimes the action scenes were like super jumpy and shit was shaking all over the place. And I had a little bit of difficulty following the action sometimes. But that was probably my biggest criticism of the looks. Nico, did you have any other criticisms to add about the looks?
Something with that I noticed from both this movie and the last movie was in those fight scenes, there was a lot of use of really high speed stop motion. And it was just, again, very frantic, but also kind of silly and a little bit tonally discordant, I feel. It was just, I don't know, you could just really tell that they were trying to get away with not being able to be as visually, what's the word I'm looking for? Just detailed as they would have liked, and also just as a way to be creative with it. But I don't know. It was not how I would have done it, I guess.
I feel that. And Dan, Nico mentioned tones, so I kind of want you to elaborate a little bit. See, he's a tonally discordant, which is for visuals, but I'm making it a sound thing now. So what do you think about the sound of this one?
I thought it was fine. The soundtrack was mostly like kind of ambient and I don't know, it's going to sound dumb, but spacey.
Yes.
There was no clear like motifs or anything in it, but I thought it fit the atmosphere of the film and I thought it did a good job.
I agree. I thought the soundtrack and the score generally was what it needed to be. I think in space, no one can hear you scream, and I guess they don't have beautiful sounds in space either, because everything sounded real industrial-like, real gears grinding and spaceshipping and all that jazz. So nothing much for me to say there. Nico, how about you?
I got nothing, fellas.
All right, fair play.
You said it.
I just checked outside and it's raining. So check on this one, Nico. Why don't you call out one of the themes of this film here? Let's discuss some themes.
So one theme that is displayed in full view in, I feel like, every scene, honestly, is paranoia. This is a movie where everyone is very clearly fueled by fear. Like, that is the primary emotion of this movie, more so than others in the genre, I feel, just given the, I don't know, crazy fucking nature that they're in. Like, I didn't feel that there was much terms of character depth really in this one. It felt more like just an exploration of paranoia as a theme, really.
Yeah, you're right. And that's actually, to your point, Pandorum is in essence like you get turbo paranoid and a bunch of other crazy, insane shit happens. So I feel you on that. Dan, how about from you? Where you got the themes at?
I mean, that's mostly it for me as well. One thing that I found kind of interesting was, you know, when we talk about cosmic horror, one of the key like phrases in the genre is descent into madness.
Yeah.
And they said that word for word. Like they said descent into madness, not just like, oh, you're going crazy or some other variation of that. I don't know if that's sort of a little call out to like cosmic horror themes or
I
anything.
feel like it's gotta be.
Yeah. And I think they did a good job with it too, because right from the beginning, they plant the seed of Pandorum and like going crazy and stuff. And throughout, there's every once in a while like a little scene or something that makes one of the characters question if they're going insane or not. And then it kind of ramps up more and more as the movie goes.
One thing that I thought was a little bit, I feel like they could have done better with this is the whole like, yeah, Pandorum. It starts when you undergo something that makes you feel scared. And then when you feel scared, you start to get more worried. And you get more worried when you start to get more worried. It's just like, it felt very cyclical. I feel like they could have had some other thing with Pandorum to signify that things are really starting to go bad, like some actual like common maybe visual hallucination, like you all suddenly start to see, maybe I'm calling too much on Event Horizon for this one, but like think back to how Sam Neill's character saw his dead wife and stuff like that. I feel like they could have had some other transition other than just like you start to get paranoid and then it gets worse from there.
Well, you get nosebleeds.
True, yeah.
And you start shaking.
And hallucinations.
Yeah, I guess that's fair. I guess my complaint is just with how it might have been explained between like two of the characters one time. I'm not particularly sure, but like anyway.
Yeah, I got you. And for me, the theme is life finds a way. Because
Is it really?
Hey, listen, they do. I mean, even the humans that turn into the creatures, and more on that later, but life finds a way. They've been, getting into their freaky creature sex and they have little kids and stuff. And
That one kid was a straight savage, though. Oh my god, we have to talk about this. There was it fuck, who was it that the kid killed?
Man.
It was Mon? Okay. Yeah, so there's this cute little albino looking cave monster kid who has a little coy smile on his face, and it's like, oh, he's gonna be friendly and there's gonna be some sort of development, and then he just like lashes out with some sort of like metal whip and just like slits his throat instantly and just like, GG, you're done.
Yeah. But to be fair, I thought Mon was done anyways after that scene because the creature
Oh,
kind of
yeah.
was like biting into his guts, and they
Yeah,
don't have
for
no kind of
sure.
medicine or medical staff, so it kind of is what it is.
Not anymore.
But I thought that was definitely a theme, and also just I kind of really dug the idea of Pandorum because, truth be told, we have no idea what deep space travel would do to the human mind. Because I mean, you know how they say like sunlight, like natural sunlight, affects your mood so much, and
Oh, yeah.
imagine not ever getting natural sunlight.
Yeah, and being on a ship for 100 and
Yeah,
it was supposed to take 123 or 5 or
something like
years.
that.
Something like that.
And they like rotated their at least 5 shifts of crew members. There may be more, I don't know, but
I think they mentioned 6 once.
Nico's right. They mentioned a team 6, and each team was supposed to be awake for 2 years. So, gosh, in 120 years, if you were up for 2 years every 12, how long would that have taken you?
I'm not ready for this math.
What?
Nico's on summer
Bro.
break.
This just takes me back to driver's ed with those complicated ass word problems, bro.
Driver's ed had the complicated ass word problems and not maybe math class?
No, remember there was some shit where, I mean, that also,
Mr.
yes.
Betzler's
But,
math class.
fuck.
Anyways,
Damn.
Mr. Bun.
so
Not Mr. Bun.
how did you feel about the creatures from this one? Just their general design and the way they act. How'd you like them?
It felt to me like The Descent, but in space.
That's fair.
And it was an interesting design. I wasn't a fan of how they all looked like, I don't know, just a little more reptilian, I guess. Something. They just looked very off. It was, and which is a credit to the design. It just kind of wigged me out, which is a point to the movie's favor because that's clearly what it's trying to do. But it was fun. There was a pretty big industrial theme visually that you could see there too. There were these like mechanical growths coming out of them, and I feel like that sort of distinguishes these particular monsters du jour in a horror movie from others just by nature of the visual design, which is nice. IMO.
Dan, did you like the creatures?
I was kind of ambivalent. Parts of them I liked. I liked their overall design, and I liked that they're almost like tribal
Yeah.
humanoids because
Yeah.
as society sort of devolves and kind of goes back in time almost. So I thought that was kind of cool. But Nico mentioned before that there's a lot of like sped up movements and things with them. And then Justin had also mentioned in the action scenes, there's a lot of quick cuts. And near the end of the movie, we do see them in much more fullness later. But I wish that a lot of those action scenes weren't so quick and their movements weren't as jumpy as they made them to be.
Yeah,
The editing was very discordant on this one, unfortunately.
agreed. The only thing I really got to say about the creatures is there was like a throwaway line in the movie that they're stronger than you think. And one of them like backhands Bauer and he like flies across the room.
Ah, I fucking died at that.
I was
dude.
like, yo, holy shit.
I was gone.
I was like, you're over here fighting the goddamn Hulk. But then, like half an hour later, Mon squares up with one of them in like hand-to-hand combat. And so I'm like, okay, either Mon is a super soldier and no one knew about it,
He's a fucking farmer.
maybe. I don't know what's going on.
Farmers are strong as shit.
You're right about that. But I'm just trying to figure it out because how could you be so strong? You send a grown man flying across the room with one smack, and then Mon just decides he's about to engage you in like Mortal Kombat and wins.
I know how we can find out though.
How's that?
Here's how we find out. We got to get you fucking undercover at Farmers Only, Justin.
Me?
Yeah. So that you can get in and tell us.
Oh yeah, that's my next strategy. If you're trying to, ladies, if you're out there, I'm on the Farmers Only dating app. That's where I'm at. My specialty is turnips and radishes.
Turnips.
So
you're big into root vegetables then.
Yeah.
I got it.
Yeah. One thing that's a little related to that is the fucking like weapon that Bowers has.
how's that related to my dating profile?
Not that. You're right before that.
There's just going to be a picture of you with this like whack-ass Party City scimitar or some shit. You've got your garden hoe and I've got my meat cleaver or whatever the fuck you call it. I don't know.
Nah, the meat cleaver is something else, bro. But MO.
Jesus Christ.
Anyways, I like Bauer's little like gun thing that when he gets it,
Oh, yeah.
it's supposed to be for like crowd control.
Yeah, non-lethal my ass.
Peyton is even like, that's not going to do you any good. And then somebody else later is like, that's not going to do anything to them. But all 3 times or something he uses it, it explodes them. And I was like, yo, seriously? Did nobody else try this?
No. How could they?
They're all asleep.
They had 800 years. Surely somebody tried to grab a fucking gun.
Okay,
Dog, I'm getting my beauty rest. Don't worry about it.
I'm going to say this straight up. They have an incredible way to work around not having power. So anytime you run across a console
Yeah,
or a
for
station
fucking real.
that doesn't have power, there's like a hand crank or like a grip, literally like a grip strength tester. It literally looks like it's like supposed to be working out how to like grab something or grip something.
Yeah.
It's mad suggestive. But like you crank it a couple times or you grip it a couple times and it powers up to 100% and then it's good.
Bop it.
It's good.
Twist it.
Grip it.
Push it.
All these and more. Farmers Only. So I'll tell you,
Carrot.
I'm like, dude, you had a whole locker of guns and shit. And
Literally, though.
just me, I maybe would have taken more than one.
Bro, nah, he just got his Mega Man blaster and he's like, I'm good.
Yeah, I would have had 2 Mega Man blasters, at least.
Honestly.
It's like you shoot one and then the other one's reloading and you shoot the next one.
Fuck it. Go Bayonetta. Put them on your fucking feet. Just go absolutely
Whoa there.
bonkers.
Whoa there. It's one for the foot fetishists out there.
That'd be tight as shit. Are you kidding me? Roundhouse kick and just explosions? Sign me the fuck up.
Your ultimate attack, you'd just be like,
Okay, you can't see this, audience, but Dan just like attacked us a quadruped on camera.
It was like there was a Dan-shaped giraffe on screen for a second.
Dan is a giraffe.
Fuck. Well, that's my new sleep paralysis demon. Thanks, bud.
No problem.
And Nico had a quick point to bring up about the humans evolving into the aforementioned creatures from the descent, because it's been about, the mission was supposed to take, as Dan said, like 120 something years, and it's actually been like 920 something years maybe. Nico, you said you didn't feel like the humans could evolve in that amount of time. Why do you not believe in evolution?
No fucking way. Like, think back
So you don't believe in evolution? Just for we get this on the record.
Science
that's a
denier.
liberal hoax.
Science denier. Go ahead. The damn liberal cucks are back at it again in space.
Space Force? More like Space Worst.
Well,
Anyway. Christ. Anyway. Like, it just doesn't fucking work like that, man. Like, think back to even 1,000 years ago in the real world. We didn't have, like, I don't know, random fucking plants and shit growing out of our bodies, or like bricks or whatever was reflective of the nature of the world that we were in at that time. Like, you didn't have fucking sugar cane growing out of you when you were in like 1,000 years ago, Dan. You didn't have fucking, I don't know, borscht growing out of you. I didn't have pasta growing out of me. Like, I know it's a creative little, or a potato. Okay, yeah, let's just cover all these bases.
Farmers
like-
only.
farmers only.
Farmers only. I know that it's for the aesthetic and for the vibes, but like, here's what actually happened. There was a serial killer who woke everybody up and basically formed a cult. Cults don't make people like literally evolve like that.
So, I bring to you the word of not Paul W.S. Anderson, but
Ball.
apparently,
W.S. Banderson.
according to Nadia, the humans had been receiving these feeding tubes and shit while they were in hypersleep. And I guess those were altered and people started becoming, instead of becoming evolutionary adapted to the planet they were supposed to be going to, they became evolutionary adapted to the ship, which is why, for example, they couldn't really see too well. Like light wasn't really what did it for them. It was more so sound. And that's why they were all sleeping next to like the reactor. Cause it's kind of like, maybe that's how they were able to stay alive when they couldn't get flesh, the nuclear energy and shit from it. Who knows? But that's the movie's explanation as to why it was essentially accelerated evolution. Whether or not it's silly, we'll leave it for the streets to decide, right? That one's for the
Press X to doubt.
that one's for the dare listeners.
So many times.
But I do want to ask real quick the ending. It's a hopeful ending, wouldn't you say, Dan? Did you like it?
Personally, I don't think it's very hopeful because I'm pretty sure they're all going to die.
Oh,
I mean,
Get fucked.
all right, so there's like 1,200 people, I think, left.
yes.
Something like that, yeah.
And they just landed on well, they didn't even just land, but they're on a new planet. They have zero tools. They don't know anything about the life on this planet.
Yeah, we don't know if that air is breathable or if it's like arsenic or some shit.
No, the air is definitely breathable. That was one of the categories they needed.
Yeah, I think they know that the planet is inhabitable, but like they don't really know much about the planet. So like
Fair play.
there could be a fucking, I don't know, pterodactyl or some shit come through and just like eat them. Or
I
something.
hope there fucking is.
That's what I was going to say. Like, they quickly surveyed the planet and then they sent a ship out there because it was an Earth-like planet and it was good enough. It had to do. And I'm just waiting for there to be like dudes squaring up with like saber-toothed tigers and shit for like food.
For real.
But they also could salvage shit from the Elysium now that all the creatures are dead.
Maybe. They don't have any tools to salvage the ship.
Yeah. With what equipment could they go back to the ship?
So the pods, they had tools and shit in some of the pods.
No, they didn't.
Yes, they did.
No, they didn't.
I don't think they have like salvage equipment in that little like
In
telephone.
the farmers' pods, they had mad tools. You didn't see that, did you?
No. There's no difference between a farmer pod and a regular pod.
They had pods that wasn't for people.
And a bean pod.
That was like shit was in it, trust me.
Okay.
Like all the when they had like
Source, trust me.
all the animal parts and shit, like when Nadia was like when she was
Yeah,
like
all the animal parts that stayed underwater.
no, when she was kissing Bauer, she was like, "Yo, when the pods pop, these will fly out too." You didn't see that part?
Oh, and the pods pop, is that what they call it? It's on farmers only.
Farmers only again. But no, so you know what? Nico, Dan's just talking mad shit. Did you find the ending good?
I thought it was a little hokey, I'm not gonna lie. I had a similar reaction to Dan, because I was thinking back to the ending of, I can't believe I'm bringing this up, but Lily Cat, when they're like all hopeful and shit, going to this
they were
random
fucked.
planet that they
Yeah.
yeah, like, this is just like that, but with more people, IMO.
Okay. Well, I thought the ending was good. I like that all humanity didn't die.
Yet. Didn't die yet.
Yet,
They good, bro. Listen, there's resources on the planet, and
they got a Costco, it's fine.
all they got to do is start building up some shacks and fish.
You don't know that there's fish?
Yeah, there is fish. We saw jellyfish.
Can you eat a jellyfish?
Yeah, that's how you get jelly.
Oh, shit.
That, nope.
I never
No,
knew
it's
that.
not.
I never knew that.
Yeah.
It's not how, dear listener, please don't eat jellyfish.
What are you talking about?
This is coming from the farmer. Farmers only. He knows what he's talking about.
We were talking about root vegetables. Is a jellyfish a root vegetable?
Well, I'm also from the island farmer sect, so I can tell you that sometimes we'd have a little pond with jellyfish in it to like, you know, for the root vegetables.
No, you didn't.
Okay.
No,
Okay.
no, you didn't.
Peanuts and jellyfish.
Yeah.
Right? Get a little bit of bread and you're good.
There you go. All right. Well, while we sit here discussing Dr. Stone, it's time for the what would you do? So I'm going to keep it real. Let's say you woke up out of hypersleep, extremely disoriented. First off, let's say it's the three of us, right? Who would be the first one to wake up out of the three of us? Who do you think would be the one to wake up first?
Dan.
Probably Dan.
Yeah.
Now, Dan, it's me and Nico. Who are you waking up second?
Justin.
There you go. Respect. So we decide we're going to give Nico like an extra like 2 or 3 hours, and then we wake him up too.
Or years.
But no. So what do you think would be the first thing you would do? What would be your immediate goal? Would you head straight for the reactor, assuming one of us knew we had to fix it?
Bro, I would take the just absolute most desperate piss of my life. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, I was surprised they didn't do that.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, that would be just the absolute first thing.
I half expected a scene where Bauer just like straight up painted a grate or something because
just started power washing the interior of the ship.
I'm saying that would be what you would do after cryo sleep. But moving past that, like, would you go straight for the reactor? Would you try and stock up on weapons? Would you wake up more people to form an army? What would be your concept here?
I would try to wake up more people.
Mm-hmm.
And I would also slowly map out the place.
Mm.
I would just like make a little home base in the room I'm in and then slowly try to like explore a little bit. Not like the whole ship,
Right.
but just so I understand my immediate surroundings.
Nico, are you on the same page here?
Yeah, I would just be hanging out with Dan because I'm not equipped to deal with that level of stress.
Now, let's say you run into the creatures. Are you going to try and combat them, or do you think we should ignore them and go straight for it?
Oh, hell yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, I would use the gun that I got
Oh, the gun to just start murking them?
that explodes them.
Yeah. Little fucking Samus power cannons, yeah.
Okay, that's fair. And actually, fair enough. Doing it this way might actually save the ship. And so, like, we don't lose everything.
Mm.
Good point. I feel like we'd win this one.
Honestly.
Yeah. And then see if we saved the ship, then we would have tools and resources to recolonize the planet or to colonize the planet.
True enough. I was hoping for that. The sequel.
We'd crack open the farmer pods that have all the tools in them.
Farmers only.
Listen, there was a pod straight up, bro. Go back and watch it again. It had like some weed and feed, Miracle Grow, and then like an aerator. Like it was there. It was really there. Like you couldn't understand.
Diatomaceous earth and all the other shit that you need. Some pots, some fucking planter seeds.
No, listen.
An entire aisle and Lowe's was there.
I had the auto-generated subtitles on so I could see what Mon was saying, and he was explaining this all.
Nah.
I call Cat because I also had and it said speaks Vietnamese.
Right. So luckily, I actually had my friend over, and he was translating it for me.
No, the fuck you didn't.
Mm.
Don't fucking lie to our listeners. You bad man.
All right. So it is time to discuss the critical review. So as always, Nico is actually no, Dan got it right last time.
Yeah,
I did.
So Nico, can you reclaim your crown of
No, I have no fucking clue how this did. I'm trying to think back to other movies that came out in 2009 and like I have no idea what this was going up against.
Well, sometimes we're judged independently. But I'll say this. That's my farmer accent coming out. Farmers only. So, what do you think this movie got from critics? Where is it at?
I'm going to say 60.
I was thinking the same. I'll say 55.
Nico strikes again. This one was given a 30%
Whoa.
on Rotten Tomatoes from
I
critics.
wasn't that close.
Audience was a little more generous at a 49%. But I want to get your take on it. Just general thoughts, and is this movie for anyone in particular?
I thought this movie was all right. I didn't really enjoy it, but I think like a 30/ whatever the audience gave it was a little harsh. I would give it maybe a 62. I thought it was okay, but it just, I can't even really explain why, but something about it just didn't really do it for me.
Mm-hmm.
The plot was a little convoluted sometimes. I had to actually like look it up afterwards to really understand what was going on. Like as the movie progressed, I understood just enough to keep me engaged in the movie, but whenever I stopped and actually thought about something, I was like, wait, why did that happen? And then I'd have to kind of like look it up. So that's kind of a knock on it for me.
All right, so you're at a 62. I'm honestly right in your ballpark. I give this one a 65. I'm into sci-fi and I'm into horror, so I should, theoretically like this movie a lot. And I think this movie comes close to being good. I think the plot, I agree with you, Dan, is a little convoluted. I think the runtime doesn't help it at, almost an hour 50. I think it's a little bit bloated and just, I feel like if they slowed down and just taken some time to really like dig into some of the horror of these creatures, like if they'd set it up so they weren't like jumping around like they were on crack, but like if they were a little more like methodical and just a little scarier, gotten some of those basics right, I feel like this could have been a lot better. And also, to Nico's point, you would think the ship would have some kind of failsafe. Like, yo, we were meant to go for like 100 years, and we're now on year like 900. Time to wake up the engineer. Like, what? So, yeah, I don't know about all that. I'm going to give this one a 65.
I am feeling similar to the both of you. I'm also going to give this a 62. It was fun. I had fun watching this. It was entertaining. It was just confusing at times and at other times a little slow and just, I've said this word a couple times on this particular episode now, but just discordant. It just didn't really work for me in certain spaces either, but like, I'm glad I watched it.
All right, that's fair. So let's ask this question right now then. Would you recommend this movie to anyone?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Oh, okay. Well, let's go ahead and diverse opinions. So Dan, you say no.
I just think that there's other sort of similar either space ones or like Nico had mentioned, The Descent, obviously not in space, but it has similar vibes to it, minus like the madness thing, but like creatures are kind of similar, a lot of it's similar. I think there's a lot of similar movies in different settings that would fill that same itch for me.
All right. Nico, you would recommend this?
Actually, no, now that you said that, I'm going to change my mind. No. You've won me over, Dan.
And for the record, I agree with the no recommendation on my part either. Like I said, I think it comes close to being good, but I just think there's better offerings. Now, I will say this. If you are a true sci-fi junkie and you love your sci-fi mixed with horror, maybe this is worth your time. But for the general populace, a general recommendation, the answer is no for me.
To answer your previous question, Justin, I feel like this is for someone who just really, really loves Event Horizon and wants another spoonful of that, but just hasn't found another space horror that's as good yet. Like, it's something. Like, if you're desperate for something that is similar to Event Horizon, then, like, here you go.
Yeah, that's me, and I should probably just go play the Dead Space remake instead.
I've been saying!
All right, then. Well, dear listener, you've heard what we've got to say, but now it's time for you to have your say. You can find us on social media. We're on Twitter and Instagram at DOTD Horror. We're also on Facebook. That's Don't Open That Door. Plus, you can check out everything we've done on our website. That is, of course, DOTDhorror.com. But till then, have a good hypersleep. Make sure that you get your mental health taken care of so you don't fall into Pandorum. And as always, dear listener, don't open that door. Bye. Plus, if you want to meet up with me, onlyfarmers.com.